Hey everybody, Jeremy here from Nobot Studios. Welcome to another GRIT Galaxies project update. This is the 9th episode in the series where I keep you informed about what's going on with this project. I apologize ahead of time. My voice is a bit raspy. I've been fighting a sinus infection the last week. I wanted to get this recorded last weekend, but I was in very rough shape. So here I am, and welcome. So let's get into this. The progress has been a lot and a little kind of together over the last couple months. One of the big things is that I finished the writing, and I gave it over to Ryan to start working on the editing process. So that is in his hands. He's had it for maybe a month or so. One thing that's happening with that is he's just a super busy guy, super busy job, family, house, all that stuff, so things are going to move at a slower pace than they did with GRIT Fantasy because there was a little more time. We both had a little more time actually. So that's going to just kind of play out over time, next few months or so. What we have decided to do is break it down into sections, which will make it far more manageable to get the editing finished. So basically we already made a list, and talked about it a little bit. And so he's going to finish the intro section, which he has already worked through, I think. And then, he'll send it to me, I'll go through it, and then he'll check it again. And then I'm sure later on, we're going to do a proofing type thing. But we want to solidify each section at a time. And like I said, it's going to be so much more manageable that way instead of just doing the entire book, which is highly detailed and just a lot to do. So we're doing it that way. And we kind of met online, just chatting about it a couple weeks ago, and he said that he was impressed by the writing. He's had to not really do much of anything with it, which is good. That is exactly what I wanted to hear because I put a lot of effort into making the writing as good as I could. So he's just catching small stuff, which is awesome. So that's kind of what's going on with the editing process. And like I said, this is going to happen over months. I don't expect it to be quick. I have a lot of illustration work to do anyway, so the timing kind of works out, It's best just to be relaxed about it, honestly. And so, yeah, the illustrations, I think last episode with this, I talked about reducing the number of illustrations. So I'm at about 82 to 85 that I need for the book. I have done a ton of mock-ups for it. I'm probably 90% done with all the mock-ups. I would guess I probably have between 70 and 75 illustrations already mocked up. I have one monster left to do, and that's going to take a little bit of tweaking of the rules, I think, the writing of it. That's something I ran into with GRIT Fantasy is the illustration would actually be influencing the writing because the writing I did first. So that just happens. It's a normal thing. So once I get, copy back from Ryan, I'll make those adjustments and we'll move on. Excuse me. So yeah, just one monster's left. And then I've got probably 10 illustrations throughout the book, mostly in the beginning of the book, that just need to be sketched out and stuff. They're going to be composite images, so there's going to be multiple monsters and characters and stuff, and those are going to take a little time. I think I'm going to skip the mock-up step right now with those, and move ahead with the final illustrations of other things before I get to those. What I found working through GRIT Fantasy is that I actually got better at the illustrations as I went along because there are just so many of them. You get into a groove with how the illustrations work, how they're set up. I mean, I already kind of know the process, but I know that I'm going to improve as I go along. Because I'm adding color this time, it's going to be a little different. So I think there will be a learning curve with that a little bit, or just like setting up my process for what I want to do with the color. I don't want to make it overly saturated or just too much color. But then again, I don't want to make it too simple. So that's kind of where I'm at. I have a couple final illustrations done already, but mostly I just have mock-ups, so I know where things are and I know what they look like, which is a huge step in the right direction. Something I really didn't do in an orderly fashion with Grit Fantasy. So I definitely learned I learned about that through the first book. So, and I'm going to be more organized about how files are set up and arranged, and that is going to help as well. So I expect the process to be way less painful to go through once I get going. So I'm going to start, I think, with the lineages, because they're busts. They're not full figures. I can get into some detail with them, and having those done will be great too, because then I could start funneling those into tokens and stuff, which is also going to happen kind of around the same time the book comes out. I want to have that token set out and ready, in a good amount of time, once the book is released. So usually there's a little time also when the book is submitted, and getting, the first proofs of the book too. So I'll have time to get the tokens and stuff out at that time as well, or at least set up and not for sale yet, but just ready. Excuse me. So yeah, that's where illustrations are. I have been thinking about the cover, and to me, the cover is more and more important. I want to make it really good, because that's the first impression of the book. I want to make it pop out and in your face. And I know I kind of did that with the mushroom guy in Grit Fantasy, but I think I need something even more potent. I don't know. I'm still considering it. I need to do a bunch of sketches. But I think, as I mentioned before, I can't do anything with the cover until I have the entire document finished. I have to import that to Lulu before they can give me the template for the book. So it's kind of like one of the last things I can do, unfortunately. But I can have some things sketched out and like layout kind of set up, or mocked up. And I'm going to follow Grit Fantasy slightly with all that, so it won't be super surprising what I want to do, with like the logo on the back and how the text on the front is set up and on the spine. So I have an idea, I just don't have the exact ideas ready for that. So, and there's going to be some potential work, like getting more into the rules and stuff. There might be some more potential work on the loot. And that's a good segue into what I need to talk about, which is going to kind of step away from Grit Galaxies a little bit and talk about Grit Fantasy, Revised Edition. I want to do a video on Grit Fantasy Revised Edition at a later time, probably pretty soon here. But what I've decided now that the book is written for Grit Galaxies is to clone that and start in on working on Grit Fantasy Revised Edition by using that format. So now that I have the layout and everything done with Grit Galaxies and everything written on all the tables where I want them for the most part, I'm setting up Grit Fantasy Revised Edition. So the idea here is I'm moving to Lulu as a printer. Okay. Currently, Grit Fantasy is through Drive-Thru RPG. I am not happy with their printing process and how long it takes and how expensive it is to ship it. I think customers suffer because, it takes a month or 6 weeks or something to get your book. I know Drive-Thru RPG has a lot of great stuff going for it, for marketing and all that stuff, but the product shouldn't take that long to get to you. And Lulu, I think, is going to have better quality, and the turnaround is just so much faster. It's like within a week. So anyway, and depending on what kind of shipping you choose, but I think it's like 5 to 7 business days to print, and then whatever shipping method you do, which could be, 4 or 5 days or something, which is way better than 6 weeks. So anyway, I'm moving to Lulu, and the idea is to move Grit Fantasy into Lulu and just have everything, like all the printed versions of what I'm making, on Lulu. Unfortunately, Lulu and Drive-Thru do not have the same printing requirements for the documents, so I'm forced to change formats. So there's no way around it. I have to make a revised edition for Grit Fantasy. I have to say though, there's not going to be a ton of like changes. Like they're going to be completely compatible with each other. Both versions of Grit Fantasy. But the biggest thing, what I want to do is I want to have Grit Galaxies and Grit Fantasy look very, very close to each other. So you can open up one book or the other and you're familiar with where things are and the format of everything. And I think the Grit Galaxies format is a step up in improvement from the old Grit Fantasy book. So I'm bringing that up in quality. And so what I've been doing really is I'm working side by side with these two things. Like they're pulled up at the same time. And so I'm going to go through, as part of this process, once I get the version back from Ryan, make sure that all the stuff is very consistent with each other. So like if I make slight tweaks where a table is or something, I want to make sure the other one has that same tweak. I'm going to be adding some stuff to Grit Fantasy. There won't be much taken out. There is going to be some size differences because the pages, I have less space. So I'm going to have to rewrite some things, which ultimately I think is a good thing. But anyway, I'm going to talk about all that later, like in a different video, all the details about that as I get deeper into it. But this is going to be a long-term project, and it will come out after Grit Galaxies. So if you're looking at Grit Fantasy now, go for it. Buy it as it is. It is going to be quite a long time before I get the revised edition out, simply because I have to finish Galaxies first. And there's just a lot of work with that to do. So that's that. I couldn't talk about Grit Galaxies without talking about Grit Fantasy Revised Edition. They're now going to be intertwined. Okay. I'm still going to offer the PDF for Grit Fantasy Revised on Drive-Thru and Itch. So they'll still have that. And I'll also have a PDF copy available in both of those platforms for Grit Galaxies. So you'll still be able to get it just like in PDF form, but printed will be through Lulu. Okay. All right, moving on. There's not much else to talk about with Grit Galaxies at this point. It's just a matter of plugging away at the art. Excuse me. And just working through the editing process with Ryan, which will take time. So I wanted to get this thing wrapped up this year in 2025, but it is not looking like that's going to happen anytime soon. Even if I cranked out one illustration per day, that's still months of work. So we shall see what I can do. Nice thing is I have a job that I can accumulate vacation time for, and what I'm planning on doing is doing some multiple long weekends as I accrue vacation time and taking more time out to get this done. So Ryan wanted to do like a booth at NerdFest because he runs this gaming convention, and he just like tentatively said, like maybe we can try to get GRIT Galaxies on the table by that time, and that's in March, and I think it may be too soon, but we shall see. Anyway, what else is going on? Let's talk about thoughts and ideas. I kind of did this last time, and I talked about kind of my process of design and what I'm kind of moving toward as a designer, an illustrator, publisher, as well as a gamer and GM. And there was one comment that was made in the last episode of this, and I just kind of wanted to bring that up because I think there needs to be a little clarity. I always appreciate comments and stuff, and I don't know if I'll ever call out a lot of comments and stuff. I try to keep up on just like commenting on those, but not in a video. But this one struck me as maybe I need to define a few things or talk about some stuff here. So it was Drago939393. This was like 3 weeks ago. He said, "Kind of sad to see that your design philosophy is changing, in the sense that I find the narrative systems to be very gimmicky, missing the point of TTRPGs. While I also find it sad that the GRIT Galaxy project won't be as epic and all-encompassing as you had envisioned. Of course, that's just my impression as a random internet person and consumer. As a writer and long-term player, your shift is completely reasonable." So Drago939393, thanks for the comment, and I just want to add some thoughts to that. So okay, the first part, being kind of sad that my design philosophy is changing. Honestly, my design philosophy is standing firm. There's no change in my philosophy, which has always been simplicity, quality, and fun. Like, that will never change. That is just what I'm driven to do as a creator, or to be like as a creator. It's like, just make it super good, as good as I can, keep it very simple, and keep it fun. Those are the things I'll have in mind whenever I move forward. And moving forward, I think, is just a natural thing as a designer, and as a player. Like, you want to try out new stuff, new games, see what's out there. I'm definitely not the cult of the new kind of guy, but it's good to see some things and to look at stuff. I'm constantly researching different systems and what they're doing. I have just found myself as a player and as a GM wanting even more rules light and more quote unquote narrative. Like, I'm more interested in details that don't relate to mechanics that can be leveraged to win, quote unquote, the game. I'm moving more and more away from that. And I love Grit. I will continue to support it. I will continue to make stuff for it because I've got a lot of ideas for it. But on the other hand, I find myself gravitating towards wanting to simplify even more. Like, I'm considering doing a Grit Light, probably renaming it. But I love the D12, and with all the notes that I've been scratching out lately, The D12 just keeps coming up. And so I need to do something with that, and I'm going to do something with that, but it's not going to have the attribute bonuses and the adding and math and all the micro mechanics for all the stuff. Like, I'm looking more at, I want to make some really richly written, descriptive stuff. Like, I want to get into theme and texture and subtlety and that kind of stuff, you know? So whatever I move into next in the design space will be more like that. And I don't see narrative systems as being gimmicky per se. I think any game can be a gimmick if it's presented as a gimmick, if it's made to just look interesting or whatever and cool, but like just to sell the product. That is never going to be my intention. If I'm making something gimmicky, I know what gimmicky is, and I will not be moving in that direction. So whatever it is that I work on next will be definitely more rules light, definitely more narrative focused, and will not be a gimmick. I can tell you that for sure. Moving on to the next part of this comment. Also I find it sad that the GRIT Galaxy project won't be as epic or all-encompassing as you had envisioned. So, one thing about that, I think maybe it was confusing that I was talking about the subtractive process of writing GRIT Galaxies. There's a process that I found that through writing the first book that is absolutely no surprise to me in the GRIT Galaxies book, is that you have this ebb and flow of adding and subtracting and removing something from the book is not always a bad thing. And actually, from my experience, minimizing and streamlining is an improvement. Almost always. Almost always adding does not make it better. More does not make it better. Quality makes it better. And I think that by streamlining, you make higher quality product. And I think what I was talking about was cutting back the illustrations on all the loot items and trimming back the loot section. For one, I feel like, yes, it is good to have like pictures of loot, but to have more pictures of loot than anything else in the book seems like not a good choice as far as a designer, writer, illustrator. I would rather have more monsters and more illustrations of characters than I would of loot. Even though loot's a good, important part of the book and the process of the game and advancement of characters, having more illustrations of loot doesn't really do anything to the game. And having a more streamlined, high quality list of loot items is better than having a ton of loot items that are not well written, or repeat themselves. So what I've done is just kind of like condensed all the loot into the very best stuff. Like, I've picked the best stuff and kept it. And I'm really happy with how the loot section has turned out for GRIT Galaxies. It's far more streamlined and condensed, and everything on it is cool. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. And honestly, I think GRIT Galaxies is far more epic than I could ever have thought it would be. I mean, if I go back in time, and this is almost 10 years now, I've been working on this game. That's another thing to consider. If I go back, this thing started as a 5-page project. Like, that's as far as I wanted to go. Now I'm at 2 books at around 135 to 140 pages. That's a massive difference in epicness. Grit Fantasy was way more than I ever thought it would be. It just kept growing. And I did that ebb and flow with it too, like adding and subtracting and adding and subtracting, and it got it honed down. GRIT Galaxies is even more honed down. And so I think it is the best version of Grit so far. I like it better than Grit Fantasy, and Grit Fantasy is great. But through my playtesting, I felt over and over again that GRIT Galaxies is the game this was intended to be. Grit Fantasy kind of, it follows that standard, like, I know there's a lot of weird stuff in there that's not standard, but it follows like the fantasy, trajectory for things. Where GRIT Galaxies is just way more open-ended. I felt more free creatively. I've added so much stuff to it. Like there's scum lineages. There's I've added vehicles. I've added mech suits. There's a ton of new tables that were not in Grit Fantasy. I've got more builders than Grit Fantasy. So it just, to me, Grit Galaxies is so much more epic than I ever thought it would be, and it's more epic than Grit Fantasy. So I'm very happy with it, and I'm excited to get this thing out there. So anyway, that's all I had to say about that. Thank you, Drago939393. I know you've been following along and appreciate the comment. Just need to put some clarity into that. As far as what I'm looking forward to designing outside of Grit, it's all about taking notes at this point. I'm going over all kinds of ideas, but whatever it is, it's going to be more simple and it's going to be smaller. And I'm okay with that. And I'm going to make some supplements for Grit because I've got loads of ideas for that, and those will be smaller as well. So anyway, thank you so much for listening to my rambling this morning, and I appreciate you stopping in. And if you made it this far, thank you. And thanks for following along with this project. I know it's taking forever, but if you really look at it, it's lightning fast compared to Grit Fantasy, which took me 8 years to do. I'm only a year and a half into this, and I'm already on the edge of final illustrations. So it is actually quite fast. So anyway, hope you're out there enjoying your games, and I will talk at you soon here in either this project update format or some other kind of video. So in the meantime, keep rolling those dice.